Hello everyone. The next chapter that I'm going to explain is Deep Water, written by William Douglas. It is an autobiographical chapter. Autobiographical means William Douglas is describing about himself here in this chapter. The name of the chapter Deep Water refers to fear of water which the author had when he was trying to learn swimming. The explanation begins from "It had happened till I hated to walk." The author talks about his fear of water and how he dealt with it. At the age of 10 to 11 years, author decided to learn swimming at the pool of YMCA, means Young Men's Christian Association, in Yakima, which is in Washington, USA. This Yakima River was very dangerous. He chose pool to learn swimming. As every mother does in the same way, he was also being warned by his mother again and again not to go near water. But author says that it was safe as it was regularly occupied and was a used place. People were coming there to learn swimming, to do swimming regularly. Only 2 to 3 feet deep it was. Author, as a learner, used water wings. Now, what are water wings? Water wings is a pair of waterproof bags designed so that one can be attached to each arm of the learner. Author never liked walking barefoot, but because he wanted to learn swimming, he wanted to go into water, he had to give up. The next part begins from "naked into and show my skinny legs till my eyes and saw nothing." William Douglas never liked wearing swimming costume and showcase his thin legs. Might be he was suffering from an inferiority complex, but as he was keen to swim, so he gave away his self-respect also. He described his childhood experience of why he feared water. He was having a deep fear of water before he learned swimming. So he describes his experience. He was 3 to 4 years old when his father took him to a beach in California. Waves of water were coming and going, and being a child, he clinged very close to his father to save himself from the rushing water waves. Still, the waves threw him down. Now he could not save from those water waves. He was clinging down to with his father, but still the waves of water were coming, and they took the little child. The waves threw him down and was fearful facing this. It was a fearful situation, troublesome situation for a 3 to 4-year-old child, but it was fun for father. From that day, a fear got stuck in his mind and heart. All the memories revived when he saw YMCA pool. Now, author was desperate to learn swimming, so he gathered confidence, tried his swimming lesson using the water wings, and he also tried copying others. In the next 2-3 days, he was in comfort with the pool water, but a misadventure happened while he was trying to gather some confidence and trying to copy other children or other people who were coming there for regular swimming. So, within this, there happened a misadventure with him. William Douglas also describes his experience of pool, what type of misadventure happened with him. The day he went to the pool, he was all alone, so he was scared to swim alone. As the pool was not occupied, so the bottom was visible very clearly because he was already, as he has already told us, that he was all alone that day, that time, particular time. So nobody was in the pool, so the bottom was visible very clearly. Author decided to wait for others sitting at the side. After a short while, what happened? A very big muscular boy came over there, and he would be nearly 18 years. He addressed author as very thin or weak boy and sarcastically questioned, or you can say he inquired of how he would like to be pushed underwater. Now, out of sarcasm, he is going to push author into water without even realizing that he is a newcomer, he is not knowing swimming. What will happen to this boy? And he did the same thing. Author further describes his struggle as he was immediately thrown into water. He was scared as a novice. His mind was still working, so he decided to quickly give a big jump on reaching the bottom. Now, being a learner's mind, he did not give up. We can say he was, no doubt he was nervous, but he says that my mind was very active. It was working, and as soon as I was going down, I decided that as soon as my feet touch the bottom, I'm going to jump with full speed and likewise I will come out. But it didn't happen the same way. Then he also decided to lie down flat and move to the edge or side of the pool. The depth was 9 feet, but it seemed to be 90 feet for author, and slowly he felt heaviness in his lungs. As planned, he jumped with a full force, but nothing happened further as he thought the things would go on. So nothing happened, he couldn't jump as he thought. He came up slowly and still nothing was visible to him. His jump went vain. He could not come out of water. Even his eyes and nose could not be out of water. So his first try was not successful. The next part of the chapter explanation goes from water that had a dirty yellow tinge till nothing happened. Now I have already told you that he has already tried for the first time. The first try was a useless try. Otto was struggling to come out of the water. He wanted to shout, but out of panicness, nervousness, no sound was coming out. Sometimes it happens that our throat gets choked when we are nervous. Hardly his eyes and nose came out, but still mouth was inside, so it was impossible for him to breathe properly, which made the condition very suffocating. He tried waving his hand, but nothing worked for him. He was unable to breathe. He felt as something was pulling him down towards the depth of the pool. He was losing all his strength. Author compared his situation to a person who sees a nightmare and fights against a dreadful thing in a dream but is unable to get rid of it because it's a dream, and in dream there is a force that we keep applying but we cannot get rid of that particular thing. So that was the condition the author was facing right that particular time in the swimming pool. His lungs were paining, headache was there, a sensation of breathing was heard in the head. Body parts went numb and he was about to go unconscious. Again the same plan of action came to his mind. Now this plan of action is coming to his mind for the second time. The same, as soon as I hit the bottom, I am going to jump with full force, full speed, and then lie down flat and I will slowly move to the edge. But the same will not happen again. He kept going down and down. Dirty yellow color of water was visible to him. As he went deeper, he could not see anything through water. Things became harder for him. Author describes himself in a severe terror. He says that the feeling cannot be explained. Now, the person who has seen that kind of pain can only feel the pain. Others cannot feel. So he says that his body was becoming very harder out of pain. His shouts were not coming outside water. He was incapable of moving. Harsh pain in the head was there and beating of heart were the signs of life. Now head was also beating, heart was also beating, and these were the two only signs that he was alive. Otherwise the body was going numb. He couldn't move his legs. He still remembered to jump once his toe hit the bottom, and the same happened, but all his efforts were in vain. He was surrounded with yellow water. Yellow water means water getting dirty. The color of the water changes, it's yellowish. He hoped for some help in the form of ropes or ladders, but could not get anything because nobody was around, and he couldn't shout also that nobody could hear him. It was like an electric shock that ran through the whole body. He couldn't move anything nor could call for help. So he was completely helpless, we can say. The next part of the explanation starts from the page and then, strangely, till landlocked salmon. Salmon is the name of a fish. As earlier this time, also his eyes and nose came out for a time being, but the third time also he had started going downwards. Now, the second try was also of no use. In the second try, also he couldn't jump as high that his body could come out of water. Only his nose came out of water, his eyes came out of water, still his mouth was inside. And for the third time, his body was going downwards now. He tried to breathe but gulped water instead. Now, he could not breathe. No oxygen was going in and no carbon dioxide was coming out. So he was only gulping water. He only could intake water. The light that was once visible could not be seen as he drowned again. Now, light was visible because eyes and nose came out for time being. So, light was visible. But now again he is going downwards. So, no light is visible. This time he stopped all efforts. We get tired. So, he was all tired. His body was not helping him out. So, this time he stopped all efforts. He gave up. He gave up to death. Legs went lifeless. Brain stopped working. Author just gave up all the effort and felt his body easygoing. Now, when you give up and you know death is near, in death or when you are ready to face death, that phase of life is very calm. What actually is difficult is the fear of death. This is actually the theme of this chapter also. Author just gave up all the effort, as I said, and felt that his body was relaxed, very smooth in water, did not feel like jumping also this time. So third time he did not feel like jumping, ready to bear the consequences. He reached a state of being where one is unaware of what is happening around. So he was in a state of going unconscious. He gave up all the hopes. And life seems to come to an end. Next scene was the boy who threw Author in the pool was heard explaining to someone that he was just kidding with Author. Author could hear somebody scolding that muscular boy who just threw Author in the pool. Maybe it was the sign that something positive was going to happen because till now nobody was near the pool even. Author was vomiting and was taken to a safe room. Now, what we come to know from this, that Author was taken by somebody. For first aid, we can say. After many hours, Author could walk to his home. The terror stayed in his mind for several days. Now, being a child, you were in such a terrible situation, and suddenly, after so many hours, you are going back home. The terror is going to stay for years and years in your mind. The incident made him physically upset. He felt immense weakness in his knees and his stomach. The slightest work made him feel that his knees were unable to bear his weight. He could not stand up. He could feel like vomiting. After that, he started avoiding water. Now, this was his condition. This fear of water that he had in pool was felt by the author every time he saw waterfalls of cascades, bumping river, or a warm lake of the goat rocks. These are some of the names that the author has described in the chapter, and we are going to learn these names as such. The thought of water would affect him physically. How the limbs would seem to be not moving, not working, his legs seemed to be paralyzed, etc. This thought remained in his mind for years and years. He couldn't get rid of the trauma that he had. Next part of the explanation begins from the lines fishing in New Hampshire till so I went to lake. Author talks about different fishes he fished like salmon, bass, trout. Because of the fear of water in his mind, he could never enjoy his boating, fishing, swimming. All these trips never seemed enjoyable to him because whenever he was going near water, that uh, terror of water used to come in his mind. Now, lastly, after trying all the ways to overcome his fear, he decided to learn swimming with the help of an instructor this time. His training sessions were 5 days a week, 1 hour daily. The instructor tied a belt around the author, and a rope was attached to the belt, which the instructor used to hold standing outside the pool. Likewise, he used to practice moving back and forth. Like this was the first step of their practice. With the help of the belt, rope tied to the belt, the instructor used to hold the rope outside the pool, and author used to move backward, then go forward. The fear kept subsiding in his mind, he says. The next step he learnt was to inhale when the nose was out of water and to exhale when inside water. To inhale when outside water, to exhale when the nose is inside water. He practiced this technique hundreds of times. Now, this was the second step. The third step was working on the legs. Working step by step and dividing the activities into parts, the instructor built a proper swimmer. Author was now ready to swim according to author. It was the month of April when it was declared that author was ready to be able to swim in a crawl stroke style. Crawl stroke style. Author was still in awe to whether he could swim when alone because till now instructor was handling the situation. He was there as a side help. But now he has to swim alone. So he was doubtful. Now he will try that. Tiny traces of fear would come, and this time author would challenge the fear that was coming in his mind, and while challenging he grew more confident over his fear. Now his confidence was dominating and his fear was recessive. Next part of the explanation begins from word Wentworth in New Hampshire to brush aside fear. Now, author wanted to be very sure of his fearless swimming, so he went to swim at a Lake Wentworth in New Hampshire, Triggs Island. He swam 2 miles to Stamp Act Island. The names of the places, the islands have to be learned as such. He tried different styles of swimming, and some of them were crawl, breaststroke, side stroke, backstroke. In confidence, he was now communicating with fear. Now, whenever fear was coming in his mind, he was challenging, he was communicating with his fear, and the fear used to run away. This is what confidence is. This is what happens when you make up your mind to face the fear. He also went to West, Titan to Med Glacier, stayed there in a camp by the side of the warm lake. Next morning went for swimming. He swam across to the shore and back like Dog Coburn used to do. Reflection of the sound of joyful yelling was reverberated through Gilbert Mountain Peak. He shouted that I have learnt swimming, and that voice was echoed through this mountain peak. Author recollects the words of one of the presidents of America, Roosevelt, that all we have to fear is fear itself, otherwise fear is nothing. Death is very easy, but fearing death is an actual fear. At last the author says that he was free and relaxed to walk the streams, climb the mountains, everything he could do now fearlessly, because fear has gone from his mind, or we can say that he has thrown away fear, because it is the person who does, otherwise he has to keep facing those shortcomings. I hope you all have understood. For any doubts, kindly message. A WhatsApp number has been given. Like and subscribe. Thank you so much.